move on. You know, Prairie View, who came in here and fought after traveling all night and playing in D.C. against Michigan yesterday. Hats off to them for not just throwing it in at halftime and get down. And the way they fought back is obviously shows that their coach does a good job of keeping them prepared and being disciplined through it. So, but all in all, I was proud to win and happy to get out of here and move on and be 2-1.
Open up for questions. Jacob, we'll start with you.
Mike, you talked about the zone struggles on Friday night. They threw a zone to Jig in today. How do you feel like you're progressing with facing zones?
We'll be fine facing zones. I'm sure you guys are pretty observant people. We played the game a little different today than I ever have, and I thought on Friday we played selfishly on the offensive end, and I needed to show them that you have to be willing to let somebody else do well sometimes, and not want to play the whole game and get all the shots. We have a deep team, so I was able to do it because we can, but platoons don't really work. Like, that's really the only way to get everybody to play close to some similar minutes. But it disrupts the flow of the game. It doesn't allow you to really, attack the way you want to. And I hope they see that. I thought the most efficient and effective player we had out there today was Tyreek Smith, who happened to also play the least amount of minutes of the guys who played a lot. Right. So my message to him, I'll get back to your question in a second, is just be effective and efficient in whatever time you get. And if you're really good in your role, it'll grow. But if you're always thinking about how it's going to work for me individually, then it won't work really for you individually because it doesn't work for the team. So that was more of what you saw today than anything. Obviously, certain guys really never got a chance to play with other guys. Like Ice and Caleb were never on the floor together. And so that'll change as we move forward.
Yeah, I was asked, how long do you plan to stick with those platoons? Do you have
not very long?
Okay.
I think at what time that game ended today? But because again, it's not realistic. Yeah. Like, you can't. There's no way to do it effectively in a game like ours, which requires rhythm, right? And so, but point was, I hope understood, and we can now move forward and just get back to trying to be a really good team for each other.
Like Keelan attributed it just to a game of runs. What did you experience coming out of the half 15-0 run?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably a little bit foot off the gas for us. But perfectly honest, the first unit that we used wasn't as good as the second one. I mean, on either end, their energy level, the way they shared the ball. We had 6 assists in the first half of the game, and all of them were in the second group. We got to find the right grouping of guys who can work well together for a period of time. And, this time of year, that's what you continue to search for. It's always been my mind that the non-conference is to prepare you for conference play, and that you want to be playing your best basketball late February, early March, and that's no different now. So we're still trying to figure ourselves out in games.
Musa and Keelan were talking about how the free throws can win or lose games and how they, it's important for the team to improve at the free throw line. They said, what is your message to them after a game like this one?
To me, free throws is usually one of just a couple things. Either somebody just had poor mechanics, right? And I don't think we have a bunch of guys with poor mechanics, or lack of focus or lack of confidence. And I don't think we have guys with lack of confidence, but we don't have the level of focus we need stepping up there and understanding the urgency that you got to play with every possession. And it's no different than when you step up to the free throw line, do what you're supposed to do. And we have them write down their routine. And I tell them that everybody has one part of this free throw routine that they have to have written down, and it's make the free throw. Because when I used to do this for my first couple years, I'd have guys say, all right, I'm going to take 2 dribbles, spin the ball, and shoot it. And that was it. I said, no, that's not the point. Like, there's a purpose. The purpose is to make the free throw. And so shooting, less than or close to 50% from the free throw line isn't going to be good enough to help us win when we want to be our best. But we shoot them every day, and tonight was one of those days where, luckily, shooting that poorly didn't hurt us.
Is that writing the routine? Is that something you have them do just at the start of the season?
Yeah, and one of our first meetings, they write it on a piece of cardboard. We put it in their locker, and so they know it, they see it. Our managers, our coaches who shoot with them know it, and we demand that consistency of reps as often as possible.
Do you guys have an offensive identity yet? And if not, what do you think that is going to be?
So I think it's probably harder to say. I do think we're going to be obviously a transition team primarily, but in the half court there will be a lot of space to floor ball screen actions because we have two really good lob threats, well three with Tyreek, and several playmaking guards who can pass and share the ball well. We've just seen a lot of zone, so you don't run as much of your man stuff, and as we continue to see more zone, which Prairie View doesn't play zone a ton themselves, but they watched the game Friday and they wanted to give themselves a puncher's chance, and so they played it more than they normally do. And we'll get better playing at the zone as we continue to get more reps at it. So I think transition will be a primary source of offense for us, and then in the half court you'll see, kind of a 4-round-1. I've got to look at how we could possibly play Moose and Caleb together down the road once we get Caleb a little bit more, conditioning.
Kind of speaking to your depth earlier, last year it was pretty obvious it was going to go through Cade, the offense. Is it almost more difficult this year in that you don't necessarily have that guy quite yet, whether it's going to be Bryce Thompson or Avery or Ice that's going to run things all the time?
No, not necessarily. I think the advantage this team does have over last year's team is we can truly play inside through our post players. And last year we wouldn't have, even if we had this year's bigs, because we had the best playmaking guard in the country. And so I think ultimately we'll be a team that plays inside out a lot more than you probably think.
You had Caleb back, speaking of those bigs. What did you see from him, and what did you like?
He was happy to be out there. I thought he played with a sense of joy. He obviously got a couple of good baskets in there, ran the floor, and he gives us another quality person who I know can be productive at the highest level of this game. So the one thing I like about interior depth is just by nature of the game, bigs are usually in foul trouble more, right? And so we can absorb some issues there if we need to down the road. But he's still our best offensive post player. He's pretty dynamic in there, scoring with either hand, and has great footwork. And him and Musa together, practicing against each other the last week or so, have really helped each other because Musa is obviously really dynamic on the defensive end. And that'll only bode well for both of them and our overall team as we move forward.
He had Bryce back too. What he had 7 assists. What kind of dynamic did he bring?
Again, just talked about being able to spread the floor and have multiple guys out there who can create offense. And I was proud that he had 4 assists and didn't come back hunting his shot, which was part of our issue with the first group. We had a bunch of guys trying to get their own shot as opposed to making plays for others. He was comfortable running our team and setting up other people and just kind of working his way back in. So glad to have him back because he's obviously really, really talented.
Made some changes in the starting lineup tonight. Just kind of what went into that?
Just part of trying to get the units as close to even as you could, and we'll see. I don't know how long that specific lineup will last, but practice always determines the next game who's out there to start the game.
Thinking back to the Brooklyn trip, it seemed like you guys really kind of figured something out there, and I think it happened in another preseason tournament you guys went to. Do you expect? I don't know if expect the right word, but do you kind of anticipate something similar happening whenever you guys hit the road this week?
Yeah, I mean, going on the road creates a different environment for everybody, right? There's the less distractions of the people well, so you have to kind of bond with your teammates. And, UMass Lowell is going to be the best team that we've played so far. They're really good. They just beat Dayton on the road yesterday. Really experienced team, and so I think our team will get the message that not only do we have to play better, but we have to be more connected as a unit to have success because our schedule gets really, really challenging as we move forward.
Speaking of challenging schedules, you kind of mentioned what Prairie View's doing. They got in last night. They're on their way to Lubbock. Is that, I don't know if normal's the right word, but it seems almost borderline cruel at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I have a tough time dealing with it. I know why it's done. I don't like it. I think about the kids all the time, and they don't do what the guys in the NBA don't do what Prairie View's doing now.
They got like rules against it.
And so, there's got to be a better way. I'll just leave it at that.
Because even they have an off day, they go to Phoenix.
Yep.
On Wednesday. I mean, it's just.
Yep. So, you know, again, that's why it's even more impressive that they're able to continue to battle and fight. And, you know, all the teams in that league and in the MEAC, right, they do the same thing, and they're 0-12 or 13 going to conference play and somehow, you know, play each other and figure out a champion. Prarie did the same thing last year and then went undefeated in the league. So, you know, I think that's another reason that guys at that level, especially in those leagues, need to get a lot more opportunities to be looked at for moving up. I mean, those are really difficult situations. And when, you know, a guy like Rob Jones at Norfolk State is, and Lavelle Moulton at North Carolina Central and coach at Prarie, I mean, when those guys are having success year after year after year and keeping those kids motivated after doing what they do, you know, at least give them a chance.
Coach broke out the N7 uniforms today. How important is it to get, you know, the history of the state, you know, kind of a front and center stage?
Yeah, we do it, you know, each year in November, and it's multiple things. Obviously, recognizing the history of the state and the Native American influence on the state, and so I'm thankful that we do that. We're one of just a few schools who honor that. It's also something that's pretty cool. Obviously, in recruiting, people talk about it. Kids love taking pictures in those uniforms when they come here, and I think our fans like it. I don't think they want to see it all the time. They'd rather see us in orange and black, but I'm thankful we do it, especially early in the year.
And what have you seen from MA early in the year? I know he laid down a couple big dunks this week.
He's getting better. I think he's one of the guys, you know, as I think about our team that's trying to find his way within this group. You know, and I think to Marshall's point, it's not necessarily that it's harder for me to do the job. I think it's harder for the guys to not try to become what Cade was for us, right? Because he's not here, and none of our guys, and I love them all, are that good. They're all really good, but they have to figure out a way to be the best version of themselves. And if they do that, then collectively we have a chance to be really good. But if we got guys thinking that, you know, I'm going to be a 20-point scorer, you might score 20 in a game, but I don't think we're going to have a 20-point scorer. I think we're going to have a bunch of guys that average between, you know, 8 and 14 or 15. And if we buy into that, and that every now and then Bryce Thompson may get 25, or M.A. may have 20, or Rondell may get 18, and everybody's happy about that, then we'll be really good.
Do you have any national letters of intent in yet? Are you allowed to speak on anything?
Not yet, but I do think I think we're close. I just haven't got official words, so I can't step across that line. Those people don't like me right now.
Okay.
I think we'll close it on